All right, lesson number 6. Let's begin. We'll start, of course, by reviewing lesson number 5 briefly. In lesson number 5, we did multiplication by 9 and also multiplication by 3. Let's go over multiplication by 9, but this time let's use the hand shortcut. Let's begin with this problem. We have 4 times 9. Well, to do it with the hand shortcut, like we mentioned last time, we're going to take both of our hands, lay them out like this, and what we do is we go to the number that is not 9, because this is the 9 shortcut. So we're going to go to the number 4. And what the number 4 tells us is to put down our 4th finger. Which 4th finger? The 4th finger from the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my pointer finger. I'm going to put it down. And so once I put down the 4th finger, how many are to the left of my finger that's down? 3, so it's 30. How many to the right? 5 plus 1, 6. So 36. So 4 times 9 will be 36. Let's try one more. This again will be with the hands. 7 times 9. Let's lay down the hands. Go to the 7th finger. 5, 6, 7. 7th from the left. And I'm going to take my pointer finger here and move it down. And so now I got to count. 5 plus 1 is 6. So it's 60. And then here we have 3 fingers. 63. So 9 times 7, 63. Okay. What I want to do next is show you my favorite 9's shortcut. The reason that this is my favorite shortcut is because I don't even need to use my fingers. And if I don't need to use my fingers, I think that that's even better. Suppose, for instance, we have 5 times 9. What I tell students to do in this particular shortcut is to do this. They go to the number that's not 9, which is 5, and they're going to subtract 1 from here. And maybe you can figure out why we do this. We subtract 1 from 5, and we're going to end up getting 4. Now, we know that the 2 digits here are supposed to add up to 9. We got a 4 in the tens place. What should go in the ones place? Well, everybody knows that 4 plus 5 is 9, so the answer is 45. Let's try this again. Suppose we have 9 times 8. Well, if we have 9 times 8, what do? We go to this number that's not 9. Here it's 8, and we subtract 1. 8 minus 1 is 7. Now, 7 plus what digit here gives us our 9 back? 7 plus 2, so it's 72. Okay. Those couple of things I wanted to make sure we mentioned because those are some other helpful ways to handle 9s. What we want to do next here briefly is take a look at 3s. When we did 3s last time, we did problems like this. Of course, what we can do to do this problem is we can say we have 5 groups of 3. So with our skip counting of 3s, we're going to go to the 5th blank. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So the answer here will be 15. Now, of course, if you wanted to, you could think of this as being 3 times 5 by doing our commutative property. And now you can go ahead and think to yourself, well, this is just 3 groups of 5. And then go to your 5 skip counting sequence and say 5, 10, 15. So we have a number of different ways to handle these problems. And I want to emphasize, none of these ways is superior to the other. And so if you find one way that works for yourself, stick with it. All right. Today we're going to focus in on multiplying by 8 and multiplying by 4. Let's begin with multiplying by 8. Well, of course, to multiply by 8, we know what we need to do. We got to skip count by 8. And what I want you to do is I want you to copy this down, and then on your own, I want you to go ahead and try to skip count by 8. Do it in pencil if possible. Please pause the video. Okay, let's take a look and see how we did. To skip count by 8, of course, we're going to go to the number 8, and we need to add 8 onto here. And we know from addition that 8 plus 8 is 16. So this will be a 16. And then we can sort of work our way down here by just adding 8 again and again. And we'll end up getting these numbers. Okay, so you want to check yours. Let's go ahead and write down the problems associated with each number below it. And now, of course, the big question is, what is a pattern in the work that we have right here? So what I want you to do is pause the video, look carefully at the numbers here, and see if you can figure out a pattern or several patterns. Give it your best try. Please pause the video. Okay, let's go ahead and see how things turned out. First of all, I need to mention that there are a number of patterns here. One thing that you may or may not realize is that in each one of these numbers right here, the ones place, as you go to the next number, always goes down 2. So 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. And then it repeats 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. And so that may be something that helps you as you are trying to remember these facts for 8. What about the tens place? Well, as we take a look right here, there's a pattern in the tens place. If there's no digit here, we can add what digit to the left of the 8? Of course, it would be a 0. And so in the tens place, we can say we have a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that looks good. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But then the 4 repeats here. And so we got to be careful right here with that. But then starting at this 4, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so if we can remember that pattern, that'll help us with our skip counting a great deal. For instance, if you go ahead and start with 8 and write out the blanks, then what we can do is we can go ahead and, first of all, let's take care of our ones place. We're going to go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 repeats. Now starting at this 4, we go up 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's take a look at the tens place. I'm sorry, the ones place. Looking at the ones place, we have an 8, and then we go down by 2 every time. 8 minus 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4, 2, 0. Then we jump back up to 8 here. 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. And so that's one way to look at this pattern with the 8s and make sense of it. And this may help you as you're trying to remember the pattern. Now there's a second thing here that I want you to keep track of, because this may help you as you're writing out your skip counting. Sometimes adding 8s can get a bit tricky, but there's a special way to add 8s to make it what I think is a whole lot easier, which is to do this. Add 10 and then subtract 2 from there. Think about it. If you take any number and you add 10 to it, but then you take 2 away now, that's the same as just adding 8 to it at the very beginning. And so the idea here is, we'll write it down, add 10, and then we're going to subtract 2. Let's try it. What's 8 plus 10? 18. What's 18 minus 2? 16. Now you may say, Mr. R, I already knew that 8 plus 8 is 16. Well, then don't use it here. Try it on the next one. Let's add 10. 26 minus 2, 24. Now let's take this and add 10. 34 minus 2, 32. And we keep going. Add 10 to this. Makes it 42 minus 2, 40. And so by following this type of a pattern right here, we can fill it in, and that'll help us when we're trying to get our skip counting lists done correctly. By the way, like I mentioned in the last video, you want to make sure that you work on skip counting a little bit every day. You'll be surprised at how quickly it comes to you. All right, here's what I want to do next. I want to go ahead and give you some problems to try with multiplication by 8. And why don't we go to these? So please pause your video, and I want you to go ahead and try these 4 problems, and then we'll go through these, see how you did. All right, let's see how everything went. As we're taking a look here, we have 3 groups of 8, and if I skip count by 8, I know I'm going to go to the third number, 8, 16, 24, so this will be a 24. The next one, 8 groups of 0. This is a problem that I want to have us give some thought to, because there's a lot of math that we can learn from this problem. And so let's take a brief look at this. Here we have 8 groups of 0. We haven't done this in a while, but I want to have us take a look at this the old way. 8 groups of 0. Well, what does a group of 0 look like? Well, here's a group. We don't have any dots. So if we have 8 groups of 0, it's going to be 8 of these circles with no dots. How many dots do we have altogether? No dots. So the answer is 0. Common sense. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you find that almost everything you do in math is going to end up being common sense. All right. Of course, the other way to do this problem is to remember that this is the same thing as 0 times 8. No groups of 8, so we have nothing there. And of course, a third way to remember it is if one of your numbers is 0, your answer is 0. Okay? So you got a number of different strategies there, but they all should be common sense. All right. Let's move right along here. Here we have 4 times 8. So let's go ahead and count 4 groups of 8. 8, 16, 24, 32. 8 groups of 7. Here we need to count 8 groups of 7. We haven't done groups of 7 before. So I'm going to think about it as 7 groups of 8. And notice I'm not writing it as 7 times 8 anymore. You can just read it backwards. 7 groups of 8, and if it's 7 groups of 8, that'll be 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56. So we get 56 there. All right. Hopefully that went well for you. What I want to do next here is I want to go ahead and have us take a look back at the chessboard from lesson number 1. And so why don't we go ahead and get that here. One thing we mentioned in lesson number 1 is that our chessboard contains dark squares and light squares, and there are quite a few squares here, and multiplication helps us figure out how many squares we have altogether. And so let's think about this for just a minute. If we go ahead and count all of these squares, and you can do this, there are going to be quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. That took me a while. But now, let's do it the new way, multiplying. Well, how do we do it that new way? Well, let's look at groups. What groups? Let's think about this for a minute. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the very left here, and I'm going to see how many we have in the very left column. The column goes basically here from bottom to top, from top to bottom. This is a column. And in here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can say we have a group of 8 squares right there. Now, that is a group of 8. But then we have another column next to it, so this is a second group of 8. So that's 2 times 8, 3 times 8, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 8. And if you look on your skip counting sequence, what you see is we get 64 with 8 times 8. So multiplication, a quick way to figure out the total number of squares. Moving right along, let's go ahead and take a look at multiplying by 4 next. Skip count by 4. If you can hear that in the background, you know that my dog isn't a big fan of skip counting by 4s. What I want you to do, I want you to go ahead and give this a try yourself. Please pause your video. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look and see how the 4s went. 4 plus 4, 8. 8 plus 4, 12, etc. Now the math facts, here we have one group of 4. This right here would be 2 groups of 4, etc. And there we go. Now the next thing. Is there a pattern, or are there some patterns here in this work? What I want you to do is I want you to go ahead and pause the video and try to see if you can find some patterns in this work that we have here. Do your best. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this carefully here. One thing that you may have realized, looking at our digits here in the ones place, is we have 4, 8, and these are all even numbers, aren't they? Then we have 2, 6, 0. Those are even. 0 is even. 4, 8. Ooh, that's the same as this 4, 8. 2, 6, 0. That's the same as this 2, 6, 0. So it seems like there's a 4, 8, 2, 6, 0. 4, 8, 2, 6, 0. Will that pattern go on forever? That's an interesting question. Let's go ahead and take a look and see if there's something else that we notice. Well, if you compare this to your skip counting by 8s, one thing you realize is that this number, this number, this number, these are all on our list of skip counting by 8s. 8, 16, 24, 32, 40. Why? I want you to pause the video and give that some thought. Why would they be on that list of skip counting by 8s? All right, let's take a look. Why would these numbers be on the list of skip counting by 8s? Well, you probably have realized that if you go to 4 here, you already have 4. And then if you add 4 onto it, 4 plus 4 gives us 8. So that's where the first 8 comes from. Well, why is this on our skip counting by 8s? Well, here we're going to add 4. But if we add 4 again to go to here, this gives us 8 more. And so every time we go 2 on this list, that's like going 1 on your skip counting by 8s list. And so the reason is because 4 plus 4 is 8. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and give these next problems a try, and then we'll go through this. I want you to do your best here, see what you get. So pause the video and then we'll go through that. All right, let's take a look at this, see how things turned out. Here we have 3 groups of 4. So skip counting by 4, it's going to be 4, 8, 12. I got my 3 groups. Here we have 5 groups of 4. So I'm going to skip count by 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Here we have 7 groups of 4. I'm going to go ahead and skip count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28. Here we have 4 groups of 10. Oh, I like 10. I'm going to write down my 4, put the 0 at the end. All right. A great application of skip counting by 4s is counting the number of sides in a group of squares. And that's what I want to make sure that we do next. Okay, so let's go ahead and count the number of sides in each group of squares. Number 1. Obviously, one way to do it is to go ahead and count each square individually. And we can say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But let's be a little bit more sophisticated. Skip counting by 4s. This is a group of 4 sides, isn't it? So we can count by 4s. 4, 8, 12. That would be a total of 12 sides. Let's skip count by 4 again. 4, 8, 12, 16. So that will be a total of 16 sides. All right, let's go ahead and take a moment and recap. Today we focused in on multiplying by 8. And one thing that we mentioned is that there are some patterns with the 10s and the 1s, and those help us with skip counting by 8s. We also focused in on skip counting by 4s, and we saw that in our list, every other number was on our list of 8s. And those are 2 very important things to remember. Next time, we're going to take a look at our last 2, which are multiplying by 6s, also multiplying by 7s. Until then, work on your practice sheets and review sheets. Give it your very best, and I will see you in lesson 7.